The Pack Cat playoffs a hope. Matt Ryan had yet another choke. The Jaguars had a miraculous victory. The Patriots unsuccessfully tried trickery. And the NFC South is a joke. Welcome to the Mish. All right, everybody, welcome to the Week 16 episode of the Mish, second to last week of the fantasy season. So isn't that exciting? And it's also the week of Christmas, and so you can see a little bit of a hat right up here. And specifically for today, I got this Fist Miss red ale with ginger and orange peel. It's very Christmassy in design. It is a brewery that I like, and I assume it's going to be some sort of hoppy-ish maybe type, because I believe they're kind of known for some IPAs. Maybe it's not that. Proudly brewed only in Chicago. That's interesting. Didn't know that. But, yeah, we will crack into this beer here for this Christmas episode of the Mish. 1 week of playoffs are in the books. Half of the playoff team, well, a little bit less than half of the playoff teams were eliminated. And in terms of the Sacco bracket, half of the teams are out of the running for Sacco, and your boy is not one of them. I am still very much in the race for Sacco. But hopefully that'll change after this week. We might as well quickly I guess I'll take a quick sip and then we'll just jump into the matchups. And I don't have my napkin today, but that's alright. It's alright. So, the first matchup, of course, I'm covering is my matchup, which is the matchup I had versus Abby. Things are looking good for me on Thursday, as Abby forgot to take Deebo Samuel out of her lineup, and also Travis Homer. She may have wanted to play him, I don't know. I probably would have rather played A.J. Dillon or Aaron Jones in that running back position instead of in the flex, like she did with Aaron Jones, who did have a very solid game, 19.6. He was the death of me, as he was the one that put the nail in the coffin for my loss. A.J. Dillon did have 22.1 points on her bench, but, some other solid players, 19.24 from Derek Carr, so not too bad. And then honestly, the rest is kind of bad, which, just shows how bad I did. Justin Fields did pretty good with 21.58. Jalen Warren, all right, 11.9 for being the backup. 10 points from Chiga Conquo, and the Saints defense had 11, and they're the third highest scoring player on my team. So pretty sad. I lost, so I'm continuing on in the Sacco race, which is fun for everybody but me. But Abby got the victory, 82.49 to 73.38, which will move us on to the next matchup, one of the two actual playoff matchups that are competing for the Bork. Brian versus Sam. This one was about the same distance, a bit closer potentially. I'm not going to do the math real quick, but it was definitely higher scoring, and Loki has joined me up here, as he tends to do from time to time. Over on Sam's side, you're going to have to not be licking me every second, please. Thanks, buddy. What did I just say? Okay. Sam had 2 at Tagovailoa, had 7. Would you chill, sir? I know you just like to give kisses, but... Okay. 2 at Tagovailoa had 17.06. Zeke had 15.1, so not too bad. T. Higgins had 16.3, 20.5 from Travis Kelce. Now that's a Kelce performance that we've come to know. And 14.5 from Tyler Boyd, so not too bad. Over on hey, you need to stop. Brian had some decent performances. Derrick Henry had 25.3, 30.3 from Justin Jefferson, 13 from Terry McLaurin, and 12.5 from the Denver Broncos defense. Not too bad. In the end, Brian, bless you, got the victory, 126.88 to Sam's 119.26, which will bring us on to the next matchup, the second playoff matchup, Fiala versus Adam. This one was also fairly close, which also a lot of the NFL games this week were very close. So that was a pretty fun. On Fiala's side, Josh Allen had 33.86, and Adams quarterback Joe Burrow had 24.8, so very solid quarterback performances there. There were a couple Eagle receivers in this matchup. Fiala had Devonta Smith, who had 17.6, and Adam had A.J. Brown, who had 27.1, so pretty solid. And then there's some other solid receiver performances. Fiala had D-Hop with 13, and Adam Chris Godwin with 22.3. Yeah, there were some other pretty solid performances. DK 12.5, and Keenan Allen 16.6, both on Fiala's side. And that's, the flex, it seems, is where the difference was made for the most part. Fiala won this matchup 129.66 to Adam's 117.55. So Adam, after dominating for so long, is out of the playoff race. Our next matchup is one that was competing for the fork. This one was the biggest blowout of the week, I believe, with the highest scoring team that played this week, I believe. Lincoln versus Derek. Can you stop, mister? Kirk Cousins has a 30.4 comeback victory points, so pretty good stuff from him. James Conner, 18.1. Zonovan Knight, only 2.3. I'm kind of hoping he does that again. Steph Diggs had 10.7, so probably wanted a bit more from him. And then just some kind of mediocre performances, except for Juwan Johnson, who had 22.7. But Michael Gallup, 1.2, Tyler Conklin, 1.9, and Isaiah Hodgins, 7.7. You did get 15.5 from your Eagles defense, which they've been great all season, so that's not that much of a surprise. Over on Lincoln's side, Dak Prescott had 22.24, so pretty good stuff. 21.2 from Latavius Murray. 25.8 from CMC, 13.8 from Garrett Wilson, 14.6 from Jerry Jeudy. Negative 0.1 from Devonta Foreman. But Jared McKinnon had 34.2, so Lincoln obviously got the victory here, 142.34 to Derek's 114.5, which will bring us on to Michael versus Colin, another race for Sacco. And this one was not that close, the difference of about 20 points. Deshaun Watson, 12.64, has not been super great since returning. Hey, buddy. Jonathan Taylor, who played like one snap and then left, only had 2.3 points and is now done for the season. Yes, so that's not very good for him. Hollywood, 5.9, so not great. 19 for Michael Pittman, so pretty good stuff from him. George Kittle had 25.3, so very solid stuff. And then some other decent performances as well. However, it was not decent enough as Michael had the victory here. Spoiler alert, Dalvin Cook had 26, Ramondre Stevenson 24.8, so pretty solid stuff from those running backs. Amon-Ra 15.2, 10 from Devin Singletary, and 13.25 from the New England Patriots defense. In the end, Michael got the victory, 119.93 to 92.74, which brings us on to the last matchup of the week. As remember, there were only 6 matchups as we had that bye week. And this one, honestly, this actually might be the biggest blowout of the week. It was Caleb versus T-Corn, the final Sacco matchup of the week. Over on T-Corn's side, Justin Herbert, not very good, 10.72, and Jamal Williams had 3.3, so not too bad. Saquon Barkley had 23. Would you please, buddy, stop? Just go lay down over there. Thank you. 19.7 from CD Lamb, um, and 11.9 from James Cook, so pretty good, but the rest has been not kind of great. And Caleb had Jared Goff go for 14.08. Probably again wanted a bit more from him, probably 24 from David Montgomery with a 2 touchdown game, so pretty good stuff. Alvin Kamara had 12.4, probably wanted a bit more. Tyler Lockett, now with a broken finger, has 13.8, 20 points from Deontay Johnson, 20 points from, I said that, from Deontay Johnson. Evan Ingram, 14.2, so pretty good follow-up from his 40-point game last week. 19 from Jamar Chase. Mike Williams, 10.7, so pretty solid stuff. Caleb got the victory here, 129.03 to the 89.77 for T-Corn. And before we jump into the matchups for this week, got to take a quick sip here. Oh, and time check is 3:39 on Wednesday, December 21st. So we're getting there. And Bree actually just texted me, so I'm going to quickly text her back. Yes, dear. I mean, come on. What else can a guy say? Anyway, the power rankings going into this week 15 or 16. 14, we've got Colin, 13, Derek, 12, Joey, 10, T-Corn, Abby at 10, Caleb, 9, Michael, 8, Lincoln, 7, Sam, 6, Fiala, 5, Adam, 5, Fiala, 4, Brian, 3, Bruce, 2, State Farm, 2, and Bruce is at number 1. Which will bring us on to this week's matchups. First up, myself versus Derek. This is, of course, one of 2 Sacco matchups of the week. Myself versus Derek. We got a couple of NFC North quarterbacks here. Justin Fields is mine, playing versus Buffalo, and Kirk Cousins against the Giants. Definitely think Kirk has the advantage there. I'm just going to say this right now. My lineup could drastically change depending on players' injuries and if I pick up a couple guys because, let's face it, my team is probably 14, but I'm wishfully thinking that it's going to win this week. I did pick myself because, at this stage of the game, I can't afford to lose. And I also just don't want to. So I'm kind of done with it. I'm deciding this week I'm going to actually win. So, we do have some very solid players in this matchup. I do like Rashad White. Hopefully he can have a good matchup this week. That's maybe about it for the rest of my team. The Browns defense should have a good game. So that's cool. Over on Derek's side, he does have Steph Diggs, who is very solid, obviously. Juwan Johnson's been kind of a touchdown machine lately. And James Conner, now that they're on to Trace McSorley for their quarterback, he'll probably be leaned on quite a bit. But hopefully not too much, am I right? So, like I said, I will be picking myself. Do I really think I have the better team? Probably not. But, if I believe it, it'll happen, right? So, next up is a matchup that actually, I guess that means something to me, Derek and to Derek, but this one means more. It is Bruce versus Brian, a actual playoff matchup. Very solid teams, obviously. We've got Jalen Hurts currently in Bruce's lineup, but I have a very strong feeling that he's not going to play this week, which would put Brock Purdy in the lineup for Bruce. You do have Nick Chubb and Tony Pollard, who are very solid running backs, and Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams, who are very solid receivers. And then Swift and Robinson, that is Brian Robinson, in your flex. So, your lineup isn't, and then there's Dawson Knox, who had a pretty solid game last week. So your lineup isn't bad, But, obviously Jalen Hurts is definitely just a difference maker when it comes to fantasy football. Over on Brian's side, Rodgers has been playing solid. We'll see how well he can do against Miami, hopefully, for the Packer fan in me. He does really well. Just not to Romeo Dobbs. Just no reason at all. But if he just didn't really get that involved, that'd be fine by me. Ken Walker and Derrick Henry are your running backs, very solid. Justin Jefferson and Terry McLaurin, very good stuff from them as well. Darren Waller back to the lineup after being gone for what feels like forever, probably more like 2.5 months, 2.5 months. So we'll see how well he can do in his second game back from injury. And then the flex are Chris Olave and Raheem Mostert. We'll see how well those two do. I will be picking Bruce in this matchup. I do think it will be a pretty close one, though. And next matchup is the second and final matchup for the Bork. Fiala versus State Farm. Two former champions, actually. And Bruce is also a former champion. So Brian is the only one in the playoffs that has not been a champion before. Isn't that fun? Right? Yeah, because, it's very good quarterbacks. You could argue the best two quarterbacks in the league are in this matchup in Josh Allen over on Fiala's side, and State Farm has Patrick Mahomes. So very good quarterbacks there. I'm sure they will both do fantastic. Fiala is rocking the younger running backs and Travis Etienne and Isaiah Pacheco, both pretty solid, whereas State Farm is rocking the older, not super old. Eckler isn't that old, but Leonard Fournette is definitely up there in age. So, and then there's some pretty solid receiving options in this game as well. And Jalen Waddle, Mike Evans over for State Farm, and Devonta Smith and DeAndre Hopkins. Selfishly, I do have Waddle and Evans in a different league, so I kind of hope they do better than your options there, Fiala. But, that's whatever. And then Gerald Everett, Dalton Schultz, tight ends, DK, Metcalf, and Keenan. We've heard all these lineups. I'm just going to cut to the chase here. I think State Farm is going to win, but I do think it will be a close-ish in style. It's going to be one of those close matchups that the cool kids are talking about. So the next matchup is Adam versus Sam, the actual last meaningful matchup for these two teams. That is the fifth place game. You don't need to be up in my face. Thank you. Yes, these are the two teams that were eliminated from the playoffs last week. Golly, sir. And so they are playing for fifth place this week. Again, very solid quarterbacks on these teams. Sam has Tua, and Adam has Joe Burrow, so pretty good. And then, obviously, Josh Jacobs, Joe Mixon, A.J. Brown, Chris Godwin, Pat Allen, Lazard, Curtis Samuel, the San Francisco 49ers defense over on Adam's side. And Sam's got Najee, Zeke, T. Higgins, all of the Bengals are in this matchup pretty much. Except for Jamar Chase, actually. That's pretty much the only other relevant Bengal that's not in this matchup. Maybe the defense and Hayden Hurst. But, T-Boy, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, Travis Kelce, obviously, Thielen, Tutu Atwell, who with Ben Skoranek now out for the rest of the year with a calf injury, he might get some more action. And then the Baltimore Ravens defense. Adam, I think, will probably win this matchup. And I think it'll probably be close. A couple close matchups, which does make sense as the teams facing off against each other are close in caliber. Which will bring us on to T-Corn versus Colin. Some solid quarterbacks. Again, there's a lot of solid quarterbacks on these teams. Justin Herbert, so pretty good there, except for last week. And Deshaun Watson historically has been good, but in his recent bout in the NFL, not so much. Jamal Williams and Saquon Barkley, very solid running backs who can be receivers. And Michael Carter and Zach Moss over there for Colin. We'll see how much work Zach Moss gets now that Jonathan Taylor is out for the year. Smart pickup there, Colin, by getting JT's replacement. Actually, secretly, I'm hoping it's Deion Jackson, who I have. Careful, dogs. Hey, they're very close to bumping into my table setup here. Former teammates, feel like I say this every week. CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper over there for T-Corn. Got a lot of actually NFC East players in CD, and they had Saquon, but then we've also got Dallas Goedert. So pretty solid. We'll see how well he can do in his return. And then Christian Watson, bit of a down week this past week, lost his touchdown streak. We'll see if he can get it going again. And Jason Myers and Seattle Seahawks defense, a couple of hey, chill. Seahawks. And then over on Colin's side, we've got the couple other players, Michael Pittman, who had a pretty solid game, and Hollywood Brown, who we'll see how well he can do with a third-string quarterback. Obviously, George Kittle's a good tight end, and then Donovan Peoples-Jones and DJ Chark, and then the Bengals defense, as I mentioned them before. And so I will be picking T-Coin in this matchup. I do not think it will be all that close. Hey, do you guys want to go outside? Pardon me for 1 second. Let's let the puppies outside while I take a quick sip of beer. All right. Hey, come on, puppies. Yeah. Or just Loki. That's fine. Wait, Lou, you don't need to be going outside in that cold weather. Currently 9 degrees, but I'm sure it feels colder than that. So, alrighty, the next matchup, which is the penultimate matchup, it is one of the consolation matchups. These two won last week in the Sackle race, so they're free from that. But alrighty, Lincoln versus Abbey. Derek Carr versus Dak Prescott, the classic matchup of the quarterbacks that have their first names start with D. No offense to Daniel Jones, or I'm sure there's others. Deshaun Watson, but this is the titular Big D matchup. I don't know. Jerick McKinnon and Christian McCaffrey over for Lincoln's running backs. Very solid. Jerick McKinnon has been very good the last couple of weeks, and obviously Christian McCaffrey is Christian McCaffrey. So Garrett Wilson and Jerry Jeudy also on Lincoln's side, very solid. Young receivers. Speaking of not young and not solid, Mark Andrews, not very young and not that great lately, and then kind of ish, all right. J.K. Dobbins, who has had a couple good games since returning, but he's been injured for a long time. And then a couple of Chiefs to round out, Juju Smith-Schuster and the Chiefs defense over on Lincoln's side. Cardero Patterson and Travis Homer over for Abbey. George Pickens in that lineup, and still Deebo Samuel. Abbey, you probably want to take him out. I tried to warn you last week. To no avail, but doesn't really matter, I guess, anymore. TJ Hawkinson, tight end. Gabe Davis and Aaron Jones round up the flex, and the Dallas Cowboys defense. I'm sure Abbey could make a few moves and give herself a better shot winning, but I do think Lincoln's going to win, and just a little bit behind the scenes. For the matchups, I do write down the winner, and then just a little blurb about how I feel about the matchup. If it's going to be close, not close, or whatever. Most of the time, I'll write close, not close, probs close, close-ish. But for this one, I think it's going to be so not close. I wrote not close, LOL. That just kind of shows you where my mind's at. Which will bring us on to the final matchup of the week. Michael versus Caleb. Again, don't really have much to play for. I guess maybe pick position, which, that is a thing. If I do get Sacco, which seems the most likely outcome and the most hoped for outcome out of the entire league, the consolation would be that I would get first pick at which pick I want. So that would be, I guess, nice. But I really don't want to do the rest of it. But I'll have to if I am Sacco. So down to this last matchup: Caleb versus Michael. Some older quarterbacks in this matchup, and Tom Brady and Jared Goff. But there are some pretty solid running backs in this one. David Montgomery and Alvin Kamara over for Caleb, who has Goff, and Dalvin Cook and Ramondre Stevenson over for Michael, who has Brady. Pretty solid receivers. Amon-Ra and Ayuk for Michael. Tyler Lockett is in there, and he might pull an Abby, but he's going to be out this week. So you might want to change that up if you really care anymore. And then there's Deontay Johnson, also there for Caleb. Tight ends are Evan Engram and Cole Kmet. Obviously, Michael's got Cole Kmet, drafted him in the 4th round, so a very solid pick. Remember that, Michael? And Devin Singletary. Oh, and I said Evan Engram. But yeah, we'll see if he can keep it going. Flex players are Devin Singletary and Kareem Hunt over for Mike O. And Jamar Chase and Mike Williams for Caleb. So pretty solid, and there's your Bengal for you. And I think, Michael, didn't you have, yep, you do have Hayden Hurst. So and there's Samaje Perine, I'm sure, is floating out there somewhere. But the defenses are a couple of AFC East defenses, and the New England Patriots for Michael and the New York Jets for Caleb. I do think Michael will win this matchup, and I don't think it will be very close. Oh shit, Loki's at the door. I'm like, what the heck is that noise? But it's just Loki trying to get inside. Let's get him before he freezes, and then we will close out the show. Yes, yes, yes. So, yeah, that'll do it for Loki. Come on, dude. Almost done. Alright, so yeah, that'll do it for this week's episode of the Mish. You're so cold. I hope everyone has a happy, I almost said Thanksgiving. Hope everyone has a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Spends good quality family time. I know I'll be going up to Houghton, Michigan, to see my grandparents and other extended family on my dad's side. So that should be fun. And yeah, with that, thank you and thank you. Alrighty, there's the troublemaker laying on the blanket as if he did nothing, and then Lily too. This flip will be going to stay with the theme of last week, my rival for the week, Derek. Again, did not land it. Hopefully next week or the week after. Goodbye!